All right. So we all know that that massive decision that occurred not too long ago decided to take some rights of one half of the literal population of the United States. What if I told you that this change was done in order to uproot not only that decision, but also other decisions in the future? What if I also told you there's a possibility that this was done in order to secure a presidency shortly in the future? We all know that the year right now is 2022. If you're watching, I'm recording this in 2022. In 2 years' time from this video recording, we will have a presidential election coming soon. What if I told you that the president that was here before last, whose name started with the letter T, decided to put in not one, but two Republican-favored Supreme Court justices in to the judicial system and ultimately the Supreme Court? What if I told you that this was done strategically in order to shift the future outcomes of certain laws and decision makings that will, in fact, empower those voters to show out and show in? What if I told you that in the future, in a very near future, if you're watching this very recently from this recording, which is June 2022, that we will have a lot of protests, we will have a lot of rallies, we'll have a lot of showings of opposition towards this decision and any other that will come in the future? What if I told you that this all is just all a ruse in order to try and divide the nation when we have a terrifying economy coming soon? What if I told you that this was just a means of, or this is baby steps? This is baby steps towards a much larger run. What if I told you that that individual's name who starts with letter T may come back in office? What will happen then? What will happen then when we're in the midst of a new dollar coming into power from the BRICS, aka Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, making a new reserve currency and therefore a new petrodollar that will challenge the US dollar? What if I told you that maybe this decision is just the baby step that would lead towards a full-on sprint towards a World War III? This will all be speculation, of course. I don't know these things to be true, but I do want to talk about them. Number one, the decision. Why the decision occur? Apparently, you have rights that fall under a very vague decision. They're called enumerated rights. Now, this is the definition of enumerated right. And the idea when the case popped up at first was that because the Constitution was written so long ago, that they obviously did not encompass the problems that would occur in the future, such as a decision like this, that they will fall under enumerated rights, therefore protected by the federal government. However, why is this new Supreme Court trying to uproot these enumerated rights and therefore federal government? We all know that we have liberals and conservatives. We all know that conservatives want a less federal ruled government and a more state ruled government. Why is that? I mean, when the country was created, we were created in order to avoid big government. We have gone the total opposite direction of that, where we have the Federal Reserve, which is lowering the value of the dollar day by day. This is why the economy is the way it is in 2022, damn near recession. All right, but back to the point. Now, by lifting these enumerated rights, you now open the door. You blast the door open for a discussion about other enumerated rights that fall under the U.S. Constitution. Those rights are as follows. So you have Griswold versus Connecticut. The Griswold case concerned a nearly century-old Connecticut law banning the use of all forms of contraception. The challenge, which focused on married couples, was brought by Estelle Griswold, the executive director of Planned Parenthood, after her arrest and opening in New Haven. In a 7-2 vote, the justices ruled that a marital privacy is in fact protected against state bans of contraceptives and helped establish the idea that the right to privacy is a constitutional right, even though the Constitution does not explicitly guarantee it. The idea is that this falls under the 14th Amendment, which states that governments cannot deprive people of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Enumerated rights, things that are protected by the federal government and things that the states cannot interrupt. So those states who had these laws ready, such as Texas and Mississippi, who wanted to perhaps ban birth control and perhaps even limit the ability to get an abortion. I mean, if you're trying to say that it's only legal to get an abortion before 6 weeks, what that means is that you're basically banning it outright, because most women don't even know they're pregnant until the 5th or 6th week. Now, let me continue. I'll get back to my point. Next is Lawrence versus Texas in 2003. All right. Under Texas anti-sodomy law that banned two people from having the same sex or having sex with each other, Lawrence and his partner Tyrone Garner were arrested. In a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court voted to strike down the Texas law, overturning a decision from 1986 that reached the opposite conclusion. The 14th Amendment's due process clause with essential overruling. So not only is this challenging the right to privacy, it's also going to challenge the right to same-sex and also same-sex marriages. I mean, if you see what's going on here is that the Supreme Court justices that are put in the power seemingly wants to change the way America has progressed over the last 50 years. In fact, they do want to make America great again in the way that I'm assuming that white Christians want it to be. Now, I don't have any issues here or there with what individuals choose to do with their bodies or choose to live their life. I mean, it shouldn't be anyone's business. However, this does have further implications to see that regardless of what side you stand on, you have to understand what Roe v. Wade has done to open up the questioning of other laws. Who's to say that they may even uproot and challenge Plessy versus Ferguson? Now, for those of you that don't know, Plessy versus Ferguson is a 1896 U.S. Supreme Court decision that upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. The case stemmed from a 1892 incident in which African-American train passenger Homer Plessy refused to sit in a car for black people. Okay, so like, who knows what other decisions can be uprooted from this seemingly disattachment, is that a word? Separation from enumerated rights. I mean, if they want to open up Roe v. Wade, what else will they open up? Who knows, man? I still think that this may be a play for the office in 2024. I still think that this is a way to galvanize voters who may live in a Bible Belt, who may be in these states, because they know that they're not going to get the, liberal cities, New York, Miami, California, Austin. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what will happen in the next 2 years. If you're watching this in the future, comment below to see if I was right. Did this Roe versus Wade decision not only take away the rights from women and their bodies, depending on what state they live in, but also open up the door for conservatives to run right back into the White House? I mean, they're going to use everything in the books. They're going to say gas prices are cheaper now that Republicans are in office. They're going to say that they're upholding these traditional American values, right? Dog whistles again. Who knows? I'm no expert. I'm just a regular Joe just like you, watching from the outside in, and I'm seeing a lot of fucked up shit going on, Anyway. Deuces.
Expelliarmus. China.